Good evening, I am Naomi Mays reporting live from Global Canada Broadcast Station. Tonight's top story is regarding a homicide case that happened late last year on Saturday, October 28th. Nicole Girard killed her longtime boyfriend, Kevin Steele, in a supposed act of self-defense. Nicole and Kevin, known as Rooster, started dating about 4 years ago and has been in what is described as an abusive relationship ever since. We now go live to the scene of the crime where Daniela Vanna has updated.
Thank you, Naomi. I am now here at the scene of the crime where Nicole Girard had allegedly shot her boyfriend of 4 years, Kevin Steele. Longtime friend Ken Cato is here with me to answer a few questions. As Mr. Cato has just described to us, the relationship between Nicole and Kevin had always been an unstable one. Ken, given how well you knew Kevin, would you describe him as an abusive person? Has he caused any problems with himself and Nicole before?
Not really. He was usually aggressive to me, but in a friendly manner, and he just wanted to have his way.
Okay, and a rumor had said that Nicole had been threatening Kevin verbally. Did you hear any of these threats? Can you give me an example?
She threatened to kill him one time if he did not leave her alone, but other than that, there was no other incident.
And lastly, Kevin owned a couple guns kept upstairs in the second bedroom. Did you know he owned guns?
I never knew that he owned any guns, and if he did, I would have left him alone to it. It's his own business, and I wouldn't have
I'm
questioned
here
it.
with Kim Kendricks, a neighbor of Kevin and Nicole, to answer some questions regarding the night of Kevin's death. On the night of October 28th, did you see or hear anything that grabbed?
When I got home, I heard a very loud party with very loud music. I then heard an argument that I assumed to be between my neighbors Kevin and Nicole. And then I heard 2 gunshots, and that was about it.
You said before that you saw Nicole run out of the house after you heard the gunshots. What state was Nicole in after she had killed Kevin?
Nicole was hysterical and distressed and screaming what I heard to be, "He hit me."
I have here Dr. J. Holmes, a supervisor of the emergency department at VGH for 2 years now in Vancouver. May I ask you a few questions?
Yes.
Nicole Girard between January 2011 until she committed murder on her 22-year-old boyfriend. What kind of injuries were you noticing on Nicole?
Girard was treated for numerous injuries, including broken nose, severe bruising, and lacerations.
Constantly covered up for her injuries, coming up with others. Were you able to tell that the injuries resulted from the abuse?
Injuries that Mrs. Girard had sustained were consistent with injuries commonly seen in a physically abusive
Does abuse have on one site?
doctor. I can't speak specifically to the mental state of Mrs. Girard. However, prolonged physical abuse can often lead to symptoms of depression and anxiety.
Now joining me is Dr. Lonzio, one of Nicole's psychiatrists, to shed some light on what Nicole had been experiencing before the incident. Nicole came to you 4 times in the fall of 2014 before she killed Kevin. Were you aware that Nicole had been on an abusive relationship? Did she at any time let you know that she was afraid?
Nicole and Kevin's relationship was completely abusive and would have caused anyone under the circumstances to feel paralyzing amounts of fear, which is what Nicole had expressed to me several times.
There are rumors going around that Nicole had a mental disorder. Are you aware of this?
She's been through that Nicole suffered from battered wife syndrome.
Nicole had been drinking that night, but stated she wasn't under the influence enough to not know what she was doing. Do you agree with this statement? Would the same result occur if she hadn't been
I'm in a
drinking?
place professionally or psychologically to agree or disagree with Ms. Girard's opinions. However, what I can tell you is someone under the same amount of physical and mental strain that Nicole was under before and during committing the crime would not need to be intoxicated at all to be considered out of control, or at least have their judgment be considered clouded.
On the night of October 28th, 2014, Nicole and Kevin had fought like any other day with the threats, the violence, and the injuries. As Daniela interviewed the witnesses, Kevin Cato, Dr. J. Holmes, and Dr. Lonzio, we found out that Nicole had been actively attending the emergency department at VGH Hospital in Vancouver, with resulting injuries from her boyfriend, Kevin Steele. The night of Kevin's death, he had been heavily drinking and sending threatening words in Nicole's direction. Nicole was aware of the .303 rifle she used on Kevin, although she did not retrieve the weapon herself. Nicole had been experiencing a lot of injuries, resulting in her mental instability, leading to the gunshot wound to the back of Kevin's head, while descending the stairs back to the party. Nicole is now in custody, currently awaiting trial for R.V. Girard. This is Global Canada Tonight, and we now go to our next story. Thank you.